So in the do-it-yourself home pool maintenance series I'm doing, this one here is going to be about the filter cleaning, which you've got to do often. I have a Hayward filter, which is a very common filtration system. And you've got to clean the filter once in a while, because if it gets all clogged up, things like your heater won't work and water falls and it just fouls up everything. So you need to clean it. I mean, I clean it probably every 2 weeks. If you clean it once a month, you're in good shape. So these are the valves right here. You want to, I do anyway, I shut the valves off for the pool system so the water doesn't, drain out while I'm opening the system up. And I turn the pump off, if you saw earlier. Now this here is the skimmer for like the vacuum and the main drain and anything that gets through, and you can see that skimmer there gets quite a bit of junk in it, especially if it's windy out. So that's one thing that we're going to clean. And then the filter itself, what I usually do is open the valve on the top to let the pressure out. Makes it easier to actually open this. And then there is a release on the handle, for mine anyway, that you just hold in and then you turn, and it basically unscrews, and then you kind of got to work it a little bit sometimes because it seals, but it comes off. And there's the filter. So the filter is, this is 2 weeks, and you can see it gets dirty. Bugs and debris and all sorts of junk gets in there, and if you don't clean it, it gets dirty. I mean, some people, they don't clean it for a couple of months, and that thing is a big, giant, clogged up mess. So the skimmer deal, just empty it and spray it out. And I mean, to clean the filter, I use and here's the pool skimmer also, that of course, you should clean that, probably check it every day or a couple of days. It's easy to, as you can see the basket here, just clean the leaves and frogs, and you find all kinds of stuff in there. Big, giant, nasty spiders. But yeah, check that, clean it. But anyway, so the hose, I just use a regular nozzle for the hose, as you can see, and I spray out the skimmer. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean, but just get the big debris out of the skimmer there, and then you spray the filter itself with the hose, and you'll see all the dirt and junk just coming off of the thing. Now, if you're worried about whether you need a new filter or not, I've been told, you see those straps around the filter there, that as long as those straps are intact, that your filter is fine. The filter is intact. These things are real expensive, so you don't want to change them out if you don't have to. So I basically just spray it out until all the dirt's out. When you're spraying it, a lot of the dirt goes to the bottom, so sometimes I'll flip it over and do it again, and then put it in on the opposite direction that it was before. No reason, just figure, give the debris a different direction to hit it from when you put it back in there. So after you clean all that stuff out, now you can see the basin for it. A lot of debris settles in there. Now, you don't have to probably do this every time. I'd say, every few months. But you can't really see it with this film, or at least not in my editing tool, all the debris. But at the bottom of the basin, you just unscrew, there's a stopper in there. You take that out. I use like a knife that I have, and that does it. Now on the bottom of the basin, you can see there's all kinds of stuff in there, sand, and I usually let all the water drain out with all the goop, and then I'll spray out the bottom of the basin. Some of that stuff, it looks like that might be conditioner. And there's a helper. So anyway, I spray out all the goop and debris out of the basin. There's no, if you have a lot of goop in there and you just put your filter back in, it's just kind of, makes your filter dirty again almost instantly when you fill the basin up with water. So I spray everything down, spider webs and whatnot. And that's that, really. So after you clean it up, screw the basin plug back in. Don't over tighten that. I can only imagine how bad that would be if you stripped that thing. So be real, careful. I can't even really figure out. You imagine cracking that, you got to get a new basin. Don't do that. So it doesn't need to be cranked down. So then put the filter back in, and the skimmer, which by the way, I in the video I forgot to put the little skimmer back in here. I put the cap back on, and after I put it back together, I realized I forgot to put the skimmer in there. Don't forget to put the skimmer in there. It's very important, because see it laying there on the rocks? I was distracted, by the way, in my defense. I was being attacked by a bubble monster machine and a giant pit bull of doom. So I was distracted. That's my excuse. Anyway, I did, just so you know, I did notice it before running the pool for any length of time, and I put the skimmer back in there, but don't forget. So then you fill the basin up, just like that. I mean, it's real simple. I think it took me 15 minutes, and it's just such excellent maintenance to keep the pool clean. So while it's filling up, these the tubes, the pipes, are all labeled. Make sure yours are labeled. Get somebody out. If you don't know which is what, get somebody to label them for you. It's so important, because turning these on and off the valves is often important. Like there's two returns. One is like for the bubbles, and one is for the jets. You might have that, the bubbles and the jets. I only run the jets, but sometimes, if people are over, I'll put the bubbles on. So you change that there. Then also, I'll run the pool skimmer and the vacuum, but I turn the main drain off, because if I have all three going, it's usually not enough to make the vacuum move around. So you kind of have to adjust the vacuum and the skimmer so that just enough so the vacuum actually moves. Okay, so now I got the basin full, and I'm going to put this back on. Be real careful when you put this on. First, before you get the screw part in, kind of seal it. Push it down. Make sure it's even. If you don't get it seated in there properly, it won't screw down properly, and the thing will squirt out. It'll leak. You take your time. Fool with this a little bit. But once you push it down and seat it, you kind of, then once it feels like it's in place properly, the screwing should go normally. If the screwing in is kind of weird and doesn't snap into place, you didn't do it right. So, it's not the end of the world. It'll just squirt out of there when you don't seal it properly. So after you tighten it down, open up your valves on the pool and so forth. However you like it. The return, make sure those are all open, because running your pump with those closed is bad. Very bad. So don't do that. And then go ahead and resume the pump operation. It takes a second, and then it'll start priming, which means it runs a little bit faster. Make sure you got everything just right. And there you can see the pump pulling the water in. And then what I'll do is I'll open up the little valve at the top of the filter just to let the air out. It'll squirt some of the air out of there. It shouldn't be too bad when you close the valves earlier. be worse a little bit. And there it is. And right after this, I did notice that I had left the skimmer out like a genius. I'm like, what? Is the skimmer? Or did I not notice it there? I noticed it relatively soon. Anyway, so that's it. You can see the pool's working good. Vacuum's moving. I have it so the vacuum moves, and then I adjust it just enough so the vacuum moves, and that way the skimmer also gets enough suction that it actually pulls, the stuff off the top of the pool. So that ends. That's the end of this one. I mean, the next ones I'll do will be about, balancing the chemicals in the pool, things like that, and we'll chat about that a little bit later. Hope you enjoyed it.